Okay, this video is about Easter now being declared as International Transgender Day of Visibility by the head honcho guy here in the USA. He declared March 31st. And notice it's international. So what international says to me is there was an agreement with multiple other countries. My prediction would be those that want communism trying to sort of do damage to the holiday of Easter. The two big holidays of Christianity are Christmas on the 25th of December and Easter. Easter is usually in the beginning of April, but this year it was on March 31st. So for the Democrats, which are really, in my opinion, are essentially the American Communist Party, for them to declare Easter Day as Transgender Day suggests to me that what they're really trying to do here is put transgenderism as above Christianity. And there's already been some stuff going on of them trying to make a law in Canada, claiming the Bible is hate speech because it have some negative quotes against, non-heterosexual male-female relationships, okay? So they'll want to declare the Bible as hate speech. They'll declare Christianity as a hate religion. And the reason they want to do this again is because Christianity says all men are equal in the eyes of God. It empowers the poor people. Christianity has always been a religion of poor people, okay? Yeah, certainly the wealthier people took it on in some countries, but it is the friend of the little guy to say that he is equal in God's eyes to the big, rulers who run a country, okay? It gives him an appeal outside of the secular system that's helpful to the little guy, if you will. So here's a quote by Patrick Henry, one of our great founding fathers. He says, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation of the United States of America was founded not by religionists, but by Christians, not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, peoples of other faiths have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here." Patrick Henry. So that's an important point. The United States was founded by Christians. Okay, that's well known. If you study the history, you'll find that's obvious. They tried to change the history books in the early 1900s. There was a communist movement that realized they've got to change the history teaching in the high schools and the colleges in order to gradually move towards making America a communist country, okay, when bringing back slavery. So the rich billionaire perverts could enslave the population. They had to change the way everybody thinks by changing the way they were taught at the high school and the college level. This is well documented. If you want to read a historian that summarizes quite well, read David Barton, okay? He's one of many historians that have summarized this pretty well. All right, so here's a painting of GW, at Valley Forge, praying by his horse. He did this all the time. This is just typical stuff when you start reading about the founding fathers of this country, okay? The founding of the fathers of this country weren't just religious. They were like religious fanatics compared to how modern people are. Okay, and they were also brilliant. Thomas Jefferson, the guy was a genius. He could read in 5 different languages. He was a Bible nut. He was in all these Bible study groups. He was making sure every student at his college got the Bible. All his family members read the Bible. He pushed the Bible in every direction. He read multiple different translations of it. And he also did a lot of things to try to make things better. He had to work with what was his available options. They had to get the unity of all the states of what was then early America in order to be able to get them together so that they would be able to not be taken over and controlled by the British permanently. Okay? And then he wrote the Declaration of Independence that was signed in 1776 by the whole, unified colonies. And here's just a key point. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, that's all men, not just the rulers, but all men, including the little guy, the proles, the peasants, the plebeians, all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator, their God-given rights. That's an important point, God-given rights, with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, liberty, they're not to be totally controlled and bossed around, okay? That's an important point. Ben Franklin was also a genius. He helped to proofread the original Declaration of Independence. John Adams was a very bright guy, a lawyer. You couldn't find three smarter guys to found a country that wanted freedom more for the population than these three guys. Okay, that's why the United States is the greatest country in the history of the world. Okay, and if you want to read somebody else who's real smart about all this stuff, read Ayn Rand. Okay, Ayn Rand said the United States is like a miracle. It's the greatest country that's ever existed in the history of the world. These guys were quite familiar with the ancient Greeks and quite familiar with the ancient Romans. They knew about the Roman Republic that had lasted 500 years. They wanted to create a country that would last for a long time. That's why they built in all these checks and balances, and that's why they learned from the lessons of Rome and Greece about what kept a country free. Okay, now here is the signing of the Declaration of Independence, okay? And it wasn't diversity. It was a bunch of white Christian men, okay? That is who founded this country, all right? And so that is also the reason why the communists hate their guts. That's why the communists are scapegoating them. That's why the communists have invented a whole bunch of, things like affirmative action, not to help the minorities. They don't really care about minorities. That's just a fake. I'm half Hispanic, okay? I'm half Puerto Rican. Believe me, they don't care about minorities at all. That's all largely fake, okay? The only reason they might want to use them is to damage this group, okay? But they don't actually care about them at all. They don't, the reason they feed their babies soy milk is not to help them with fluoridated water, okay? They just feel like they're useful at the moment to damage this group, okay? They feel that once this group is gone, then it will be easy. In their opinion, the other groups are too small in number or too few in other ways that they can't generate any significant ability to prevent communism. Okay, and once communism is in place, they can then go full forward with eugenics and everything else they want to lower the numbers of the residing current population. This is all of this stuff is in writing. None of this is my speculation or opinions. If you go to other sites and you read other documents and you watch the videos of the other sites, you will see all of this has been in place for decades. They've been working on this, the Communist Party, for many, many decades, almost really about 100 years. Okay, this has all been going on for over about 100 years. All right, and the goal is to bring back slavery. Communism is the word for modern slavery. And with the internet actually works against the little guy because it enables a ruler to centralize everything and control a few to control the many is what communism wants. Okay, this is just a picture of the founding fathers. They used to have mass in the same area where they would, work out, signing the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and having all their meetings. The Constitution really protects the rights of the little guy, the common man, all right? And what I'm trying to say is they had Christian church mass in the same buildings where they did everything else. And these are the public buildings. The public buildings were used to have Christian mass. Okay, that's an important point to get that straight. All these guys were praying together and giving mass. Tons of pastors were involved with this. Pastors were very big part of early American politics and rulemaking. Okay. And here is the signing of the Constitution. And again, it's the same guys that did the Declaration of Independence, basically just about the same guys, okay? There were a few guys who, were maybe on vacation at that moment, okay? But it was the same basic group of guys. This is like Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson was in France at the moment, okay? That's why he's not in the picture. I know that Alexander Hamilton looks a lot like Thomas Jefferson, okay? But, GW presided over the Constitutional Convention. So all I'm saying is this is why this group is hated. This is why this group is scapegoated, because it is seen as the only possible group that has any ability to try to keep freedom in the world. So once this group has been gotten rid of, then the attitude of the communists is that everybody else will be a walk in the park to control. That's what they believe. Okay, whether or not it's true, who knows? But that is what they believe. Okay, so the bizarre thing about this, why would he want to do this on Easter Day? So this is a very public, very visible thing. A lot of that stuff like destroying the food supply, that's done kind of covertly. But for him to want to do this publicly, he's intentionally, I think, trying to piss off Christians. But why would he want to do that? There has to be a goal in this, okay? And the other thing, too, is I went to a really big high school. There were over 1,000 kids in each grade. I never knew a single one, not one person that was lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual. Now, I will bet you that some existed, but I never knew of a single one. I never heard of a single one. Kids all talk to each other. We would have probably heard of it. I never met anybody, heard of anybody. what I'm trying to say is this lesbian, gay, transgender, I don't know what the percentage of it is, but it was really, really rare. In all my days as grade school, I played a bunch of sports. I knew lots of people. I never once heard of a single person in any of these groups. Okay, all of a sudden now, apparently, like up to 20% of high school students declare themselves to be one of these things: lesbian, transsexual, gay, transgender, bi, and all the other categories, whatever they might be. What I'm trying to say is this is all new. I never heard of this stuff before. So then, when I went to college, there was one guy who was homosexual. I heard of that, and it was at a big college. And then I knew, because I would read in the newspaper, and they like glorified homosexuality. I'm like, well, gee, if two guys want to do that, that's their business. I don't care. But that's not the thing as saying two guys are like your mother and father. They're not. They're not biologically. They can't biologically have a child. They don't have the same psychology as a mother and father who are bound to that child very biologically. So I don't have it all figured out. I don't know why he did this, but this was certainly a big, dramatic thing that would have been unimaginable in the past. And there has to be a reason. I haven't figured out the reason yet, but what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's right. You have an established holiday. Why couldn't this have been done on some other day? It was intentionally done as an affront to the Christians. Well, why would he want to make an affront to the Christians? I don't know. But it's a very bizarre thing, and it's a big, big gesture. I don't know what the significance of it was, but it wasn't done by accident. There was a lot of planning went into it. And the fact that it says international, to me, that suggests a global communist movement, and that's their goal. That's their number one priority. Get rid of the Christians, okay? Because once they're gone, they think everybody else will be easy to depopulate and to enslave.